Donald Trump has been charged with over 70 felonies. After the indictments from Georgia and the rest from Jack Smith come in, they'll certainly go over 100 felonies, could be 150, maybe even 200 felonies. Now, what you have to understand is he only needs to be convicted of one or two to be put away for life. I like those fucking odds. He would go away for life unless he cut a deal. But I'm not so sure a deal is in the offing. Donald Trump's more about appeals than admitting anything. In order to cut a deal, Donald Trump would have to admit that he was wrong, that he was a criminal. And Donald Trump's malignant narcissism just doesn't make it easy for him to do that. I mean, he'd have to be desperate. He'd have to be crying in a cell to finally admit he was wrong. But even still, that would be hard for him. But of course, the other side has to agree to it too. People like Alvin Bragg, Jack Smith, or Fani Willis. And my question is, why would they? I mean, these crimes are so egregious. Doesn't Donald Trump need to be made an example of? Don't we need to show what happens to somebody who does this to deter future people, future presidents for that matter? I don't know, it's interesting. I keep hearing people saying he'll cut a deal. Well, if you have over 150 charges against you, that deal's not going to be very good. You're still going to spend the rest of your life in prison. So Donald Trump's in a bad way now. He's the deal maker. Remember the art of the deal that he didn't write. He never cut a deal, a good deal, while he was president. Now he might be pressed to cut a deal for his very freedom. But he may be reluctant to do it because then he'd have to admit he's wrong. But he'd also have to get the prosecutors to agree to give him a break. And I just don't see that coming. I think Donald Trump will go through with his trials. He'll be convicted multiple times. He will be sentenced to a long time in prison or some kind of lockdown, and we won't see him again. He will fade away. He will be remembered as a pariah, maybe the worst president in the history of this country, maybe the worst person in the history of this country. Donald Trump's family will have to change their name because they don't want to be tied to that fuck. I feel bad for Barron. Here's a kid that's 16 years old that's just trying to start his life, and he's got a dad that is the worst human in the history of America. Will he cut a deal? I don't know. I don't know who's going to win in a deal. Who wants to cut that deal? Donald Trump doesn't. The prosecutors don't. This is going to be fun. Once they've got him cornered, once they got him in jail, it'll be appeals, but those will take forever. And Donald Trump's 70 fucking 8.